I would like to share with you a story that I heard this morning. Okay, I was listening to the radio and I heard one of this, I mean, one of the persons involved in the story telling the story, a story I have heard uh, before, and a lot has been written about it, even a film. Okay, but I heard it this morning from the horse's own mouth, and it struck me in a particular way. And I would like us to look at it again and to see what lessons we can draw from this story. All right. So today, the 13th of October. Okay. Today, the 13th of October, 2022 makes exactly 50 years since this plane crash took place in Chile. Okay, so it was on the 13th of October that a plane left Uruguay and was going to Santiago, Chile. Okay, and on the way, it crashed. Okay, in the Andes Mountains, this plane crashed, and there were about 45 people in that plane, and amongst them there was a young rugby team. Okay, they were going to play a match in Santiago, Chile, and then this plane crashed in the mountains and in the snow, so they were trapped, and about five of them died on the spot, and they continued to listen. The rescue team had gone out to search for them and stuff. The next day, another five died, and after a few days, they heard from the radio, what was remaining of the radio of the plane, that they had given up the search because they were nowhere to be found and there was no way to get to them. So, can you imagine the despair of those people being alive and knowing that nobody was going to come to look for them? I don't want to be in their shoes. And I know you too, you wouldn't like to be there with them. But that is a true story. And the person who was telling this story today is a survivor of that Andes Mountain plane crash. Okay, he is Roberto Canessa. And some of the questions that were asked, okay, were simple and direct questions. And he gave some answers that to me are very touching. And maybe I have just about three lessons to bring from this story. Okay. Roberto was asked, how did you survive? How did you survive 69 days in the snow? Right. I was expecting maybe some scientific, or I don't know, something different. But what he told me was down to earth. Okay. One of the first things he gave as a response to one of the reasons for their survival was that when they discovered that nobody was coming for them, they started singing songs. You know what kind of songs we were singing? Songs they learned at school as kids. And that most of these songs were religious songs. So they were singing religious songs. And you ask yourself, why? And he said they believed that someone somewhere was listening to them. So they were singing and hoping that their prayers will be heard and that somehow someone was going to come for them. All right. For those who pray, it sounds wonderful, okay? But for those who don't pray, it might sound ridiculous. But then, that is the simple truth that some people survived a plane crash because of a prayer. Right. Whether the God they prayed to heard their prayer or not, whether he came to their help or not, that is a question we can look into some other time. But the fact that They had their hope placed in someone outside of themselves and outside of their situation, gave them hope to live on, expecting help to come somehow. So that is the first lesson. All right. Whether you believe in God or not, there is need for us to have something over and beyond ourselves, to have faith in somebody or in something out of ourselves, to be committed to something more than ourselves. When we are committed to something more than ourselves, we have a reason to live. We have a reason to push on. We have a reason to hope. Life has more meaning. So that was the first thing. All right. I don't want to go into the religious part of it because you might be religious or not. But the fact that you have your faith, the fact that you have your trust, the fact that you have a commitment with someone, with some people, with something, okay, out and beyond yourself is very powerful and it can help you to survive. So that was the first thing. All right. Okay. After that, the people continued dying day after day. Okay. They said it was so cold that if you went out, you were going to die of cold. And if you stayed inside, all right, after having torn everything that was there to make shelter for themselves, all right, you still ran the risk of an avalanche falling over the what was remaining of the plane and maybe killing every other person that was inside. So it was risks outside and risks inside. But then they continued. All right. So it was like waiting for death to come. Okay. Every morning it was one person or two. And the question was who was going to be the next. Now, the next thing that happened is what touched me most. And something that might scandalize you. But then you have to enter into this context to understand it. When Roberto and all his friends ran out of food, when they were left with nothing to eat, when they had eaten all that could be eaten, they had nowhere else to turn to. They looked around, they looked left, they looked right, they looked above and below, they saw nothing. But then when they looked into the snow, because of the cold, because of the ice, because of the snow, all their dead friends were preserved. There was no decay. And this is where the problem came. They decided to eat the flesh of their dead friends in order to survive when they had no other source of nutrition, when they had no other source of food. They turned and ate the flesh of their dead friends that had been preserved by the snow, by the cold. It might sound a scandal to you, but it just goes a long way to show that there is nothing beyond the human being. When it comes to surviving, when you want to survive, you can do anything to survive. Now, you might be scandalized. How can someone eat human flesh? Right. We have been taught, not only taught, but ethically, we know we cannot be cannibalistic. But there are situations in life when you have to think out of the box. When you see that some hard-held principles, ethics, they kind of like are suspended because there's a greater need here, the need for survival. It's not like you shouldn't have principles in your life. It's not like you shouldn't have values in your life. But then there are moments when some principles, if they are just for your ego, there are moments when you have to examine some principles and you put certain things above them. Like in this case, life. It's strange, but it happens. All right. Roberto and the surviving friends, they kind of signed an agreement that if they should die, they offer their own bodies for their friends to eat in order to survive, for those surviving to eat. It is difficult to talk about this. But then what we get from this is this. At times, when we are hard hit, when we are in difficulties, we have to think out of the box and take decisions that maybe in other circumstances we will not take. But when it comes to life, when it comes to surviving, when it comes to breaking through, we take very difficult decisions. So, are there things in your life that are unmovable, principles that cannot change? Now, you just have to examine those principles to see if those principles are helping you to survive, if those principles are opening the way for you, or they are blocking your way. Maybe it is time to examine. I'm not saying that we are going to start eating people today. No, that was a particular situation. Okay, what happened in a particular context. But I want us to come out of that context and put ourselves in different situations in life where maybe we have to make a re-examination of our values, of our ethics, of our principles in order to give priorities. Okay, in order to structure our priorities, we have to think out of the box when we see that things are not moving. Okay, that was the second thing. The third thing was that at one point, Roberto and the surviving friends said, we either stay here and die, or we go out and die while struggling to survive. It is easy to say that, but then to take the decision is not easy. What motivated Roberto to take a decision? It's strange, it's simple, it looks trivial, but then it was there and it helped him. Roberto kind of dreamt of young men and women like him because they were just about 17, 18, okay, university students. I mean, those of the rugby team, okay. He was a medical student then. He said he thought about these young girls, these boys having fun somewhere down over the snow, beyond, down in the valley. There were people. And he thought about these young girls with their miniskirts having fun. And he said he was not going to die in this snow without making an effort. He wanted to go out to search, to go beyond the snow, to go down and find a place where these people were having fun, because he was not prepared to die. So he had a dream. He dreamt of something. And that is how he got out of that plane and he started searching. It's not like once you take the decision, the problem is solved. No. It took them, 3 of them, more than 10 days, going back and forth, losing their way, coming back, until they finally got somewhere where some horsemen came by and saw them and then took them to the village, and then the news went wild that they had survived. At the end, after 69 days, just about 16 of them survived out of 45. But then, what kept them going is what we want to take home as a message today. You have to have faith in something, in someone, out of yourself. You have to have a commitment that is bigger than you. That will keep you going. The second thing is that you have to think out of the box. And each time you are faced with a difficult situation, you have to re-examine your values, you have to re-examine your principles, you have to re-examine your priorities and restructure them, reclassify them, and take the decision that will break through, that will help you to go through. Don't allow certain things that are not indispensable to tie you down. Think out of the box, even if the decision is very difficult. And the last thing is you need to have dreams. You have to dream to make your dreams bigger than yourself. Okay, you have to dream big. And when you have a dream and you make that dream even bigger, it motivates you, it pushes you to go. You need to dream about your objectives. You need to make them big. And when you make them, the bigger the image, the bigger the dream, the stronger your motivation, the stronger the zeal, the stronger the effort, and the stronger the fight to go for them. So you have to dream, and you have to imagine your goals. You have to imagine your objectives, and you go for them. So have faith in something, in someone. Have commitment beyond yourself. 2, think out of the box. Okay, re-examine yourself, re-examine your objectives, re-examine your values, re-examine your priorities each time you want to take a decision, each time you are faced with a challenge. And finally, dream big. Dream big. And even if your dream is foolish, make it big, because that is what is going to keep you going. All right? And you should keep going. Never stop. Move. All right? If you can run, run. But if you cannot run, walk. And if you cannot walk, crawl. All right? But keep moving. Never stop. Never stop. Never stop. Keep moving.